All right, let's dive into this one.
Okay.
This is Eyes Wide Shut with Stanley Kubrick, and you guys have given us a bunch of stuff about it.
Absolutely.
A lot of really interesting sources.
Yeah.
So this is going to be fun.
It is.
I think the thing that is most apparent from the start
Yeah.
is that this movie, on its surface, is an erotic thriller. But there's so much more to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's puzzled and fascinated viewers and critics for decades now.
One of the things that we wanted to do with this deep dive was to figure out, okay, what's going on beneath the surface?
Yes.
And one of the ways we're going to do that, or try to do that, is by looking at the source material.
Of course, yeah.
Which is Dream Story.
Traum Novelle?
Yeah.
By Arthur Schnitzler?
Traum Novelle.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try and pronounce it again.
That's all right.
So to get started, what is the deal with this movie?
Well, I think
such
things that's so fascinating about it is that it uses the framework of a dream, I think, really masterfully, to explore these complexities of desire and relationships.
So we're starting off at a Christmas party.
Right.
Bill and Alice Harford, who are a seemingly happy couple, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're at this party, and Alice kind of drops a bombshell on Bill when she reveals a fantasy.
Right from the start, Kubrick throws down the gauntlet and asks us, what is the impact of fantasies on a relationship?
Yeah.
Even if they're never acted upon.
Even if they're never acted upon, do they hold some kind of like a hidden truth about us?
Yeah, yeah.
And this sets Bill off on this journey. Right.
Yeah.
He's kind of beside himself.
Yeah, this question drives Bill's entire journey.
So he's already kind of on edge. And then he starts having all these encounters.
Yeah, it's like Alice has awakened something in him by giving voice to her desire. And he's suddenly hyper-aware of temptation.
Right.
Like
his patient's daughter comes on to him. There's that prostitute.
Exactly. Yeah, all of these encounters.
And it just kind of keeps going.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we see when we compare it to the book is that the main character in the book, Fridolin, is constantly questioning.
Yeah, he has that great scene where he walks out of his house and the snow has suddenly vanished and it's a heat wave.
Right, and so that's sort of like...
Yeah, it's this blurring...
What's happening with Bill.
Yeah, the fabric of reality is shifting.
Yeah, and I think it really reflects this kind of inner turmoil that Fridolin is going through. And by extension, Bill in the film as well.
And even if you don't interpret the film as literally a dream... it still functions as one.
Psychologically, yeah.
Psychologically, yeah.
It's like Kubrick is taking us
into Bill's subconscious.
So one of the things that I noticed is that there are all these mirrors happening, right?
Constantly.
So you've got the Christmas party at Victor Ziegler's.
Yeah.
And that kind of mirrors what's going on in the costume shop.
Yes.
With the two men and the young girl. And then you have Somerton, which is kind of like the ultimate expression of all that.
It's like he's deliberately... disorienting us, making us question what's real and what's a reflection.
Why do you think he's using all these mirrors?
I think he's saying that Bill's journey isn't just outward into this urban underbelly, but also inward into his own psyche.
Okay.
Right? Into these dark recesses.
So then why the parallels? You've got the two women seducing Bill.
I think he's highlighting how universal desire is and how it manifests in different ways depending on the context.
So like the Christmas party is more about like these subtle
veiled propositions.
Little propositions, right?
It's the allure of the forbidden, but it's all within this supposedly respectable setting.
And then you have the costume shop.
Right. That's much darker.
Which is much darker.
More sinister.
And then you have Somerton, which is like this...
Yeah, it takes it to a whole other level.
A whole other level.
It's almost like a religious experience.
Right. That's where it
gets intensity.
Yeah.
It's not just about sex anymore.
Exactly.
It's about something else.
It's about something deeper.
Yeah.
And by connecting these seemingly disparate encounters, Kubrick is forcing us to confront this dark side of human nature.
Yeah, the potential for transgression that exists in all of us.
Right.
And Somerton really is like
it's the heart of this dream.
The heart of that.
The place where these hidden desires converge. Yeah. It's a culmination of that whole...
Absolutely. It's visually striking, unsettling.
Unsettling, but also...
But it's also incredibly symbolic.
Okay.
It exposes the secret world of the elite, their need for absolute secrecy, and it mirrors the secrets that we keep in our own relationships. You know?
It's all about, there's this interesting mirroring.
Mirroring, So it's not just those big moments, like the ones that are obviously surreal.
Right.
It's like this dream logic.
Yeah.
It's almost like it permeates everything.
It does. It colors all of the events of the film.
Yeah, like even the encounter with Mandy.
Right, his patient's daughter.
Yeah, like the patient's daughter and her fiancé. What is his name?
Carl, yeah.
So it's like, it's disturbing on the one hand.
Yeah.
But then it's also like...
But also really fascinating.
It's almost like this...
If we look at it through the lens of dream logic...
Okay. It's like... She's a stand-in for Alice.
Right.
And Carl is a stand-in for Bill.
Oh.
So suddenly, Bill finds himself in the position of the desired one.
Wow.
Right. The object of someone else's
That's true.
Potentially destructive fantasy.
And that's just like...
And I think that's why it's so disturbing to him, because he's forced to confront his own vulnerability.
His own
potential for
causing pain. Yeah.
And then we see this mirroring continue, right?
Absolutely.
So, like, the costume shop.
Yeah, with the two men. And the young girl.
And you were talking about how...
Right. It's a distorted echo of the Christmas party.
Yeah. And it's like the roles are reversed, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Instead of the two women, it's the two men.
Yeah.
And the red.
Yeah, those red costumes they're wearing.
Yeah, they're wearing red.
Directly link back to the domino masks.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
From the party.
That's really cool. Yeah, those little visual cues.
So what we see in the dream, or in this dreamlike state, is actually revealing a deeper truth.
I think so, yeah.
About
it's all connected.
The waking life, right?
Yeah.
And so Somerton mirrors the Christmas party.
Yeah, they're two sides of the same coin.
And it's like you've got the same players. Right?
Yeah, you've got Nick Nightingale, who's providing the music.
Right.
You've got Victor and his wife, who are present at both events.
Right. And then the line, that's impossible.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Repeated in both settings, but with wildly different implications.
What's he trying to say with this?
I think he's highlighting this hypocrisy at play, you know, how the same desires can manifest in different ways depending on social status and the level of secrecy.
So the Christmas party is almost like...
Right, it seems almost innocent.
Innocent, yeah.
Compared to Somerton.
Right, so he's saying they're both like expressions of the same...
The same impulse.
Impulse, right.
Yeah, it's like he's peeling back.
So beneath the veneer...
The layers of society.
Beneath the veneer of... like respectability, we're all capable.
Yeah, we're all capable of these darker desires.
And Somerton is like the culmination.
It takes those desires and puts them in this larger context.
Disturbing.
Yeah, you see how infidelity can become almost a form of worship.
Right, like this...
A dangerous devotion that demands secrecy and sacrifice.
Yeah, and that sacrifice.
Right.
Like that woman at Somerton.
That's right.
It's like...
Yeah, whether she represents...
Like they're saying the price.
Alice or just the potential consequences of Bill's actions.
Yeah, or just the consequences
in general.
That these choices have very real weight.
It's like the price you pay for indulging in those desires.
Yeah.
And that connects back to forgiveness, right?
It does, yeah.
Like the idea that both the film and the novel...
Someone has to pay.
...seem to suggest that someone has to pay.
Right.
For these transgressions.
And even if it's just a thought?
Even if they're only committed in thought or fantasy.
Like even if it's like a fantasy.
There's that moment in Dream Story.
Yeah.
Where Fridolin imagines his wife being punished.
Oh, yeah.
For her infidelity.
Yeah, by having him crucified.
Right. Yeah, it's disturbing, but it gets at this idea of a debt that needs to be paid.
Right. Like
a balance that needs to be restored.
Cosmic balance.
Yeah.
So is that what Bill's doing at the end?
It's possible.
He's confessing.
In that moment of confession.
Is he trying to pay the price?
In that act of choosing honesty over secrecy.
Yeah.
There's a glimmer of hope.
So is he choosing honesty over secrecy?
It's possible.
Or is he just...
It seems like he's facing...
Or is he afraid? And he just has
the consequences of his actions, both real and imagined. He's choosing to be completely open with Alice.
Yeah, but Alice's response is interesting too, right?
Yeah, she's not entirely convinced.
She's like, grateful that we've managed to survive our adventures. So like, it's not clear.
She has a point.
If they're in the clear.
The film ends on an ambiguous note.
Yeah, and then her last line, like forever. That word frightens me.
Right. That's really interesting because it leaves us wondering.
It's like,
if true fidelity is ever attainable.
Yeah, it's kind of like, is that even possible?
Yeah.
Is it even possible after this?
Right. It's like he's acknowledging this ongoing struggle.
Right.
This constant effort required to stay faithful.
To stay awake, to stay to the reality of your relationship.
So, like, can a relationship even survive this?
That's the $1,000,000 question, isn't it?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's brilliant about it.
Yeah.
One of the brilliant things about this film
is that it just asks the question. Yeah. It doesn't give you the answer.
It doesn't offer easy answers, no.
You know what I thought was really interesting from the book?
Mm-hmm.
There's that line.
Yeah.
One remembers some dreams, but there must be others one completely forgets, of which nothing remains but a mysterious mood, a curious numbness.
That's a great line.
It's like he's saying, even if we don't remember,
right,
or even if we don't understand the dream.
Yeah, even if we can't grasp the meaning, it still has an impact on us.
It still has an impact, yeah.
Yeah, it shapes our thoughts and feelings.
So even if we can't control what we dream, we can control how we respond to it.
How we respond to it, yeah.
So you were talking about this idea of, like, worship and misplaced devotion.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I completely understand that yet.
It is one of the most intriguing subtexts of this film.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you mean?
Well, if you think about it, all of the characters are searching for something.
Right.
Some kind of fulfillment, some sense of transcendence.
Okay.
But they're looking for it in all the wrong places.
Right, like Bill's looking for it in these, like, fleeting encounters. Alice is looking for it in her fantasies.
Superficial connections.
And all those people at Somerton?
Right, the allure of secrecy and power.
Are looking for it in this, like, ritualistic.
It's like they're devoting themselves to these things that ultimately can't satisfy them.
Right.
They're substitutes.
So it's almost like they've taken this idea of
for genuine
action,
right,
and they've just
the hard work of building meaningful relationships.
Completely misapplied it.
It's misdirected.
Right.
Yeah, misplaced.
And it's dangerous because it could lead to
absolutely. It's a dangerous devotion.
All kinds of trouble.
That demands secrecy and sacrifice.
And what about that scene with Bill at the piano?
Yeah, in Victor's apartment.
Playing Mozart.
Yes, that's a perfect example.
With all these, like, masked figures around.
That scene is so powerful because you have the music, you have the costumes.
Yeah.
You have this hushed reverence.
It's almost like a...
Yeah, it evokes this sense...
A religious ritual.
Of religious awe.
But it's empty.
But the object of their worship is ultimately empty.
Yeah, so it's not just about the sex.
Right.
It's about this...
It's about something deeper.
Deeper.
Yeah, this misplaced devotion.
Right.
This turning away.
And that's what makes the ending so interesting, right?
From something that should be sacred.
Because Bill and Alice...
Exactly.
They kind of come back together.
And that's what makes the ending so thought-provoking, yeah.
It's almost like they're...
Because Bill and Alice... By choosing honesty and vulnerability, by acknowledging their flaws, their desires.
And they're choosing to invest in something real.
They're essentially choosing to turn back towards each other.
Yeah.
To reaffirm.
And that's the hard part, right?
Their commitment to their relationship.
It's to choose.
It's like they're rejecting
fidelity,
the false idols they've been worshiping.
It's...
And choosing to invest in something real.
Awake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those fantasies never really go away, right?
No, sadly they don't.
So how do we...
But we can choose...
How do we do that?
How we respond to them.
Yeah.
We can choose to acknowledge them.
Got to.
To learn from them.
Yeah.
But ultimately to let them go.
To focus on what's real.
Yeah.
And not on the illusion.
It's about choosing to see clearly, eyes wide open, as it were.
This has been really cool.
Yeah.
What I'm taking away is that Kubrick's asking us to pay attention, to be more mindful.
I think that's a great takeaway.
To think about the choices we make.
Absolutely.
You know, whether it's...
Yeah, the choices we make.
In our fantasy or in our real life.
Both in our fantasies and our waking lives.
So next time you find yourself daydreaming or struggling with temptation.
Remember Bill and Alice.
Remember Bill and Alice.
Remember the allure of that masked world.
Yeah.
But also remember the price. that can be paid for chasing those illusions.
Choose to be awake.
Choose to be awake.
Choose to see the beauty in everyday life.
In the everyday.
Choose to invest in those relationships.
In the relationships that really matter.
That matter.
Because in the end...
I think we've gone as deep as we can go.
Those are the connections that bring true and lasting fulfillment.
Eyes Wide Shut, a film that keeps on giving.
It does.
Thank you for taking this deep dive with us.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure.
Until next time, keep those eyes wide open.